Hey, how's it going? Please look at my signs. And I will now, I'm going to read some cards and talk about something. Oh, wow. How'd that get there? Anyway, so I watched Barbie yesterday, the Barbie movie. And I really liked it. I figured I would. So many people liked it, I figured there must be something to it. And I don't usually take that attitude at all when it comes to choosing a movie, but I think it may have had a lot to do with Margot Robbie and Greta Gerwig, because I admire the two of them and I like their talent. So, anyway, it was a good choice. And it had exactly the kind of social commentary I would expect. I didn't need to read a review to know that it was going to go there, which there will be spoilers. But I don't think it really is if you have any kind of understanding of the whole concept of Barbie. Because Barbie, like, I always knew that it was given to girls to make them feel good about themselves when sometimes, as a woman, life in society can make you feel somewhat lacking. And it goes into those types of feelings really well. I think they did a good job on that. And then the aspect of Barbie that is like the professional woman that can do everything anyone else can, rather than saying what was. That's just me. I don't know if they've like altered that delivery, but like in the '60s when I was a kid, it would have been, or the '60s and '70s, it would have been Barbie can do whatever a man can do. So, whatever. Stuff like that, it's weird that it has to be like brought to the masses or something, because for someone like myself who's the child of a single parent, a woman, a mother, I know that she had to do everything that like she would have had to do if the man was there. Like, she just did it anyway. It wasn't like the fact that the man wasn't there did not like stop her from doing what needed to be done as far as raising the child, bringing home the bacon, paying the bills. Like, it's silly that there's this weird convention that there has to be a man, otherwise everything will just fall apart. It'll just be so terrible. I am fortunate. I have like uncles and stepfathers and lots of cousins, older cousins, so lots of father figures, and so I guess I didn't feel the lack so badly, although when I was very small I used to get really upset when I'd have to leave him, because he didn't live with us for very long. Like, I don't remember ever living with him when I was like an infant, and that like whatever happened, well, I kind of know what happened, but let me just put it this way: whatever happened back then, he was gone pretty quickly, like out of the house. So like, I don't have a concept of having grown up with the father in the house, and it was fine. Like, I never had to go into exotic dancing or whatever, although there are some pretty real psychological like tropes and realities of being the daughter of an absent father. And while I did reference not being a stripper, one of the other things that's an indicator of an absent father is obesity, which that I can directly attribute to him, the start of it, because once upon a time it was not the case. The opposite was true. My mom and several people told me that when I was, up until about like 7, 8 is when stuff happened and changed the course of things. But up until then, it was like, especially my mom, she would tell me this, and I still kind of don't get it, but I really didn't get it then. She would tell me, oh, I have to take in your clothes. You're so skinny, I always have to take in your clothes. And it would sound maybe on paper like a complaint, but if you were there and you could see the look on her face, it was kind of like she was proud, like all satisfied, you know. And then as was evidence after the defining incident at 8 years old, when my weight took a massive shift into like having it and having too much of it. And I don't know why she didn't make the connection, because I feel like it's very likely the same thing or something similar happened to her. And I'll just put it this way: there was a handsy situation that should not have happened, and it involved more than hands. Like, it just got out of control and went off rails and things, and so it was not good. And so that's where that comes from, that other thing that happens to like absent father daughters. So wouldn't have to be the father, though. It could be just any person that came along that had like the wrong intentions. So anyway, they're a little revealing, but like, really, like, all you gotta do is look at me. In a lot of ways, people are gonna go, oh, bing, 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 to use the former president's terminology, the sound effect of making those connections. So why did I start talking about that? I'm not real sure now, but I feel like if I just go back to what the original plan was, I'll get there. It's a daughter thing, though, definitely what I want to talk about, or a female thing, or a mother thing, or a sister thing. So here it is. When I watched Barbie, the other side of it that doesn't get commented on so much until, I would say, within like the past, whenever the men circle with the drums thing started, like around that time, so like 20 years ago maybe, like men just were all men and angry and silent and sullen, and you know, like maybe they drink or take some drugs, and maybe only behind closed doors, and maybe not only behind closed doors, they get physical with like the women in their life. And because, as Barbie illustrated, the real world is very masculine dominated, and it has been for centuries. So it's kind of like baked in, hardwired, like all this stuff, and those things get old and worn, like baked goods rot and electrical components fray, decay, stop working. Like everything kind of comes to an end of sorts. And so what I'm getting at is the men have like stuff to say too. Like, they have felt repressed, they have felt unacknowledged, not listened to, not understood, overburdened, and so on and so forth. And I'm not denying that that's the case. I don't think anyone is. I don't think anyone does, unless it's like a one-to-one situation where you're having an argument with someone and they know to say that your opinion means nothing, to quote John Mellencamp, or to just not take you seriously as anything but, and I don't know that this actually gets said, like it may be in a one-on-one argument, but like, all you're good for is your paycheck, and you can't ever get it up, or you give me stupid children. Like, maybe there's a dynamic like that, probably, but I don't think that's the norm, and we'll get away from each other. You sound like a terrible duo, like, bad idea. The kids will be better off if you go ahead and divorce and separate. But but I can understand the feeling that like you feel like you're not being paid like the proper amount of attention for all that you go through as a man. Like they don't even get or didn't even get the kind of attention that women get. And I think, you know, we are always out there having something to say, and a lot of times there's like some man involved that it could go anyway, but I'm talking about the times where, you know, it doesn't necessarily go that great. Like it's a survivable incident, but nobody comes out of it looking or feeling great, I'm gonna say. And you can just fill in your own incident in there. There's so many that could fit in the description and not disturb the whole narrative. So, how do you feel when no one listens to you and you don't feel appreciated? You feel resentful. And given the kind of social structures that we're all kind of crammed into and forced to, or expected to behave within the confines of, like, these certain things are expected of you as a man or a woman. And I guess it's burdensome. I mean, it's burdensome for women. Why wouldn't it be for men or children, or you name the object of the stress structure? We all suffer it. Like no one's getting away with stuff any easier than anyone else. And I think that is a conclusion that a lot of men have come to. Like, because I noticed that if women are saying that something in the like Me Too range of things have happened, a lot of men will pipe in like it doesn't have anything to do with them, the situation in question, and no one's talking about them personally, but people will pipe up with opinions. And I have done this too, full disclosure. But they'll pop up with an opinion like, oh, women are just whining, or she's probably lying because her father was gone. Like, you know what I'm saying? Just went right back to there. And saying that, the person that has to hear it, they're not going to feel great hearing the conclusion that you're like this because your father was gone. Like, it's your fault. Like, they don't leave because the infant was like crying and I've had enough and I'm leaving and never coming back. It's like, it's usually the adult and the kid has nothing to do with it. Like that whole breakup of the nuclear family structure. So like out of place resentment, I feel like, and then that can go both ways. Use your imaginations. So everybody is like under the yoke of expectations as an adult. No one escapes it. So like we can really kind of give each other a break instead of getting all over each other's backs all the time. Like, it's hard for everybody. And right now it's hard for everybody. And I will bring your attention at this juncture to the sign. I added a new notation to it that says, "Can you feel it?" By which I mean, we know there's an election coming up. We know there are all these court cases. We know there are all these opinions flying about all manner of things: political, societal, racial, gender, like there's just so much in the giant thought dryer that I mean, there's just an impending feel. I feel, and I think other people do. So it's not. I'm not saying it has to be all mystical and ooh, I sense it coming, but I mean, you know, stuff is coming. You know, there's a buildup. You have been alive for like the past 5 years. You know, there have been tensions. These all create a buildup, and there's eruptions, little offshoots of like violence and just tragedy that happen because of how we're feeling and like what little slots we've been trained into and ways we're conditioned to behave. And I just feel like whether you're aware of what's happening or not, you are feeling something and reacting to things. Like, I feel like our feelings, all of us are kind of really inflamed and sensitive right now. Like, everything is super amplified. So that's going to build up. That's only going to build up as things get closer to the conclusions. And that's all good and natural and normal. Like, it's not, I think it's the way we're sensing things, and our awareness is changing and sort of also just coming into like a fuller focus. I'm not sure how else to put it, but I mean, it's happening. Something is happening to everyone. So on some level, I think we are feeling some measure of what I was talking about, like in reaction to what's coming, in reaction to what's been happening, and the stresses people are under, and the expectations, and then there's the external stimuli that you don't really have control over. Things like inflation, which is not really a problem right now. You might be used to saying and thinking it, but in reality, are you experiencing it? Are you experiencing like the hard times you were, say, during like the pandemic, when there actually was that recession or something happening, or inflation, the price gouging? I that was definitely happening. But now, is it? And then, like, really, a lot of people will say stuff that they heard because it's what the people they agree with are saying, and maybe we feel like we can trust that person because will probably maybe have done the research that we won't ourselves go do. Not like it's a laborious chore. All you got to do is whip out your phone and like open up a search engine to search what actually is the state of the economy now. Like, are we having an inflation problem? Or did the legislation that you know you're against, if you're not for it, damn it, even though you don't know what's in it, you just know what somebody said because you didn't read it yourself or bother to find out some details. You just know that everybody on your side says it's bad, you know. But then there are these other people saying, and like the government people, some of them saying, no, wait, it's actually like this. I would just offer that if that is the situation and you don't yourself go take a look, then you're the one that's not informing yourself. If you want to throw around blame, the only person it's going to really apply to in a situation like that is going to be yourself, because when you don't investigate things, and then, and this is just a feeling I have, but I also feel like I've seen it happen, when you're shooting off your mouth and you don't know what you're talking about, the shootings out of your mouth come back to land in your butt, basically. Like, I'm saying in some way it'll come around to where you'll be shown to have been shooting off your mouth and not knowing what you were talking about. And no one wants to look like that, right? That's embarrassing. So whip out the phone, maybe take a look and see if, like, wait, they are really saying it's not happening. And also, by the way, my life isn't as hard as it was so long ago when I first started saying this stuff. It's like, I don't know. I mean, it's up to us. We create the conditions. If you want to maintain the arguing posture and the hostility, there are certainly going to be people that are going to want to maintain that state. And then there may be others that are like exhausted with it, just tired. Like, you don't have to switch sides and go join the Democrats or whatever it is, like, that makes you bad for separating from your group. Hashtag cult behavior, by the way. Like, you should be able to just, like, not have to spout the party line constantly, or else become under suspicion. You know, it's like, that ain't freedom. So, no one's gonna know you looked if you look. And then, you know, if you can't I don't know. I feel like a lot of people vote differently from what like you would maybe draw a conclusion from their behavior. Like they may say one thing, hardcore, wear the uniform, go to the rally, say the words, and then get in the voting booth and be all, other guy, but no one will know, boop. Because that's gotta be happening too, like in the elections. Yes, I'm laughing about it. It makes me happy. Because I think that the other guy, you know, I'm maybe like everybody else will say, I'm not like 100% behind the guy. He's not the guy I wanted, but he is the guy that we have, all of us. And if I'm honest, things are not so bad, you know? I mean, somebody pointed out something recently that I had never really thought of, and it makes a lot of sense. People's opinions and their truth will look a lot different, but there's reasons for this. It's not just like a spooky, unexplainable, or a complicated to explain Mandela effect situation. It can be simple as this. If you live in a blue state, those states are going to take better care of their people because that is what the people vote for in those states. That is what they want. It's maybe not 100% agreed, but enough so that the blue is maintained. Let's put it that way. Then there are other states that are red states. Totally different belief system. And so the economy is going to be different. The way people are treated is going to be different. People being treated is often not a thing that is a priority. But if you did your research for real and you lived in one of these states where it feels like the prices are high and it feels like you still can't like find a place to live within your means, you know, without like having to work 3 jobs or something like that, and you know, you got your family and it's hard to take care of everybody, and so I mean, I would be curious, why are they not having such a hard time in the blue states? And then you learn that you're about the economy and what it does and who it helps and who it doesn't, and you have to be receptive to it. I mean, you have to be open to it, because we do get in our, you know, we get on our sides. But if you start thinking about yourself and like not being part of the group that everybody is agreeing with everything with each other, I mean, you can still do that, but also self-care, you know. And then it would just be, I feel like, miraculous if we all indulged in self-care, and then like maybe the difference between the states wouldn't matter so much. But there was a point, and it wasn't about self-care, that just kind of got in there, but the point I was making about the differences between the states is, I think a lot of the people in the red states that are having a hard time and are really believing that things are as bad as they are being told they are, they may not be aware that they get a lot of help financially to run their states from blue states, because we're a one country and we take care of each other, should be the overarching theme. But we like to get in our camps and on our sides, and it like makes our brains not operate very well, because you get stuck in like one zone and that's all you're allowed to think. Once you get in there, it's like you got all these rules and you got to stick to them, and everybody's watching each other, and if you say and do the wrong thing, you're out, you're shunned, you're a traitor, and you know, it's like it sounds like a terrible atmosphere, doesn't it? So wow, I really wandered far away from what I was wanting to say, but it kind of encapsulates a feeling of trappedness that I want to describe, because it's still talking about the Barbie movie, and then like all of the steps to like how the men became aware of their, I guess, position in society, like in Barbie Land, and then also for us real people that don't live in Barbie Land, we can get like another look at ourselves if we don't already know what's in that particular mirror, or we can have somebody else's filter view through their filter, which was interesting. So here's what it is about the men in the Barbie movie. Especially in Barbie Land, the Kens, it's like their whole world was kind of incel world, you know, like I feel like from their perspective, like marching around doing everything to please the Barbies, and the Barbies are like running stuff and they don't even need them, and they're like, you know, decorations, ornaments. And in that context, that was true. But you know, it was like a metaphor, because when they left Barbie Land, it was not like that for the Kens. The Kens got to see that, well, first of all, if you take away the Ken and put an M there, hello, clonk, big message on your head. But that's what the Kens got to see. It was like, it's interesting. They didn't try to just infiltrate the real world. They got like the message about the men/Ken and the power dynamic, the power balance in Barbie Land, and went back home and said, we're going to take over like they did in the real world. Okay, you know, it was in the script. But throughout the movie, I did have the thought, like, these guys are like incels, you know, and they're like, Ken, like, every time he couldn't get Barbie to like pay attention to him and be excited about what he was trying to get her excited about, like, I'm beaching, and she's like, and he's like, no, it's great, and like wanting her to go, you're so handsome beaching, oh my god, you beach so good, like, the not being responded to, I completely can relate to. Pissing you off after like a million rejections, I get it. But how you then process it makes a whole difference. Like, you either can become an incel personality or not, you know. It may not change that dynamic of you, let's say, like failing to launch or failing to click with another person, but I mean, I'd rather be like just didn't work this time than an Elliot, what's that boy's name that went around and shot up his college because he felt like he was a great date, and then he was mad because the women didn't agree. Well, you can't I mean, you can get mad if people don't do and think what you think they should, but unfortunately, it should just be so clear that they're not going to do it just because you think they should. That is not how people work. You have to earn respect. People have to, like, get to know you, decide if they like you, and then if they don't, you gotta live with that. And it's better if you let everybody continue to live and just move on. And, you know, like, you can get mad, but ultimately, like, if you're in a situation and it just keeps repeating and it's not working the way you want it to, this is like, I don't like to use this word, but it applies. If what you're trying to achieve, you're failing at over and over. The thing I feel like is important to remember is that, yes, possibly there was another person involved and they could be culpable, but you were also a participant. You were there the whole time. You at any moment could have, like, changed the course of things. So it's taken me a really long time to come to that understanding, and the only reason I was able to is because I was able to direct it at myself, and that's when, like, all kinds of doors opened up, because, you know, you can blame people, but you can't blame them only, I guess is what I'm saying. And that leads me to the incel person that I'm not sure if I should name this person, because, as one of their colleagues stated, they have a thin skin, which is so obvious when you hear them make their case. And I know a lot of people won't even try to come up against this person because they know that they can't defend themselves against them. They may be in the same field, but they're just not of the same caliber, so people stay away. And I get it, but I'm coming from someplace else, and I'm only coming from this place is because I feel like this person is in so much pain. And when I see someone in pain like this, that it's like they're putting out, what they're putting out may not look or sound like them crying for help and being in pain, but it actually, on the other hand, totally does, because of the context of it, the delivery, just the pain, like, carried on the words. Like, anger, anger is usually something we feel because of something that happened, and in some cases it'll be because of the thing that happens repeatedly, that, like I said, if it's happening to you over and over, don't forget you were also there and a participant. But if you're still in the blaming stage, you're not gonna be looking inward. And so I'm not sure. I don't know. I was gonna say I'm not sure if saying it will do anyone any good, but actually, I do think it will. Otherwise, I wouldn't just be here saying it. So it'll just be out there. I'm not gonna name the person. And not because out of fear of retaliation, although they could go scorched earth. I'm not saying so to preserve their feelings because of the thin skin thing. But this person is like the most extreme incel I have ever seen in my life. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't have the feelings that they have. The fact that they're having them is a form of justification. What they do with them beyond the point of acquisition of them, that's when, other people become involved, and they don't have to. I'm not saying like people involve themselves, but I am saying that the depth of this person's angst about the situation gets out of them and onto other people, and they're very sensitive, and they'll take stuff wrong a lot of times and just like start attacking people because of the way they feel. And I want to talk about it because I feel bad that they feel that way, that they haven't gotten to a place where they can understand that they can placate themselves, like they can begin the process of feeling better, healing about the whole situation where it's not working out. And we all have things that impact us in our lives. Like I had my defining moment that I mentioned. You put 2 and 4 together and all of the clues and hints, and you can figure out what happened there. This person tells you what happened, but their experience is not unusual. Like, it's happened to so many of us. Like everything, like the one woman in the life, and then the succession of women, and then the children that are female. Like there's a theme in this person's life where they're presented with all these women, but they have like the terrible feeling about them because they take personally everything that happened, and they forget that, like, the mother having the drug problem and not being a great mother to the child that this person was. As an adult, this person needs to maybe take a look at, yes, the child was there and the child is innocent, but the child, for a person who is on drugs and can't handle their life, the child becomes an impediment. So I know it's terrible, but that's the way the child is the participant. The child is needing the mother, and so it's imposing on the mother's life. And even a mother not on drugs will feel at some point like, this child is imposing on my life. I want to sleep. Stop yelling. Oh my, like, And that's just the beginning. So I'm saying, even as an innocent child, they had an impact. And then now they're an adult, and so they can take into consideration, like, holy crap, this was happening to the mother person in my life. Have some compassion for that. Instead of, well, not instead of, like, and then the following years, like, as this dude grew up, they became such a retaliatory emotional beast to this mother that was already having a hard time. And so these things should be past this person now, and I believe they have a relationship, you know. But he will not let a woman into his life, because to him they're all gonna hurt him, they're all gonna do something bad to him. That is not setting, like, the best. Like, if you want that to change, let me put it this way. Sometimes I would meet people online, and they would just think that we were, like, getting into a relationship or something, and, like, that's how they would start the conversation, and I wouldn't realize that that was happening until they would just say something like, you know, like, want to go out with you. No, not even that clear. They would start with, like, you'll just be like, hey, how you doing? And then the next thing would be like, so I don't want any drama in my life. And then I would be like, oh, that's where this is going. But then my response would be, well, then why are you bringing it up? So I guess I'm saying, don't pave your path with poo-poo before anything gets started. And I feel like until this guy changes his attitude about his own involvement in his situations with the females, things are not going to get better. But you can tell from what he's saying that he really wants to have the situation. He wants to have it with someone that's not available to him. Telling. But he needs to be, if he wants to be happier, he could, like, look inward. I'm not saying, like, it's a fault, because the way we happen to each other in life is kind of plotted out. I've talked about this before. Like, the things that happen to us, we don't remember. We shouldn't be surprised, though, because we set an emotion. These are things that we wanted to experience. These are things that we want to happen. And he's suffering because he hasn't gotten there yet. You know what I'm saying? So, I just wanted to talk about that. And I feel that for a lot of people in the incel situation. He's just an extreme case, but there's so many of us. And it's like, the blaming and the faulting, we need to delete from the whole equation, because it's happening for a reason. We're doing it to each other to experience it, and it's going to resonate to us in a way and eventually make sense. Like, down the line, it'll lead to a place where we can look in and we can understand what the feelings are, where they're coming from, why we're having them, why we caused them. And it's a long plod, and we just, I think, have to be really patient and understanding with ourselves and the situation and the people that we're in them with, because we're all in it together, and we're experiencing things together that are really intense and hardcore, but it's also all for the betterment. Like, even if people go out, like, leave in death, whichever way it happens, it's going to have an impact, and it's for a reason that it happened that way. And we just have all these things coming that I can feel coming, and I know it's going to be like a rowdy year, to put it mildly. And I guess the incel thing came up just because, like, not only do they have to give themselves a break, but we have to help each other, because we have a lot of people that are unhappy, and we have to be a little bit braver about trying to like reach out and impact each other and let each other know we're alive, you know, and acknowledge, because it helps. It makes a big deal. It kind of clicks us back into ourselves. So it wasn't really a card thing this time, but I'm done talking for now. Thank you and good night.